seen things I can't explain. And I've come to believe it's not so much what you believe. It's how hard you believe it.
Hello, everybody. I am Fandango correspondent Nikki Novak, and I am so excited to be talking about this incredible film on the day that the tickets have just gone on sale, and I'm talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny in theaters on June 30th. So pleased to be talking to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time. So let's dig in, pardon the pun. First, oh no, I already have an eye roll. Here we go. This film is set in the 1960s. 10 years since we last saw Indiana Jones. And I've heard that maybe you said he's very much a fish out of water in this situation. So how have the times changing and time affected Indy as this film opens?
As this film opens, and it opens in the past to start with, we have the usual teaser or first sequence of the films. Sometimes it's something to do with the movie, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it does have to do with the movie. And it's me during World War II, and I've been de-aged.
Yes.
And that was done with a new technology that I don't think has ever been used before, except in deep fakes. They have used all of the footage that Lucasfilm has acquired since I started working with them many, many years ago. 35, 40 years of footage of me, not only the takes that were used, but the footage that wasn't used. And they're able to mine that for my face in different lights and with different expressions. Then I do act the scene with balls on my face, a device for animation. But in this case, they're able to go through all of this stock footage that they have of me and pick out those moments when I was that age, 35 years old or so. And my lips are coming from the performance with the balls on my face. But the rest of my face is my actual face from 35 years ago. So it's not like a kind of, what do they call it, Photoshop kind of thing. It's really my face. So it's spooky.
The first time this has ever really happened, in a sense.
Yeah.
And I think, fans of Indiana Jones, customers, know that that's really quintessential Indy, is when you have that opening sequence. So for people who are excited to see this film, how big a thrill ride is that opening sequence going to be?
I think it's great. I mean, I think our script altogether is fantastic, but that opening is, of course, action-packed. And then the cut from that to present day, the day that men landed on the moon, is a great transition. And we get to see Indiana Jones at my age on his last day of being a professor at Hunter College. He's retiring from that, and he's not in the best shape of his life when he meets Phoebe.
I want to talk a little bit first about your entry point in the franchise. I know that there was a dinner, there was an offer, there was a little bit of wine ordered, and then there was a script. How fantastic was the wine and how fantastic was the script?
I don't remember anything after Kathy asking me about it, and then the wine. I couldn't believe how quickly I read that script. Scripts are hard to read anyway, even if they're good, because it's just the focus element is always just a little bit hard. And that I sat down with that script and it felt like 5 minutes had gone by, and it's breathless and it's so exciting. And that opening sequence, and I was laughing out loud and gasping, and even just reading the script, I felt so in the world already. And it was just, I could not wait to get started. And I came, the first day on set, I actually came and I saw you shooting that stuff. When you're in the
1944 sequence? Yeah.
I'm not sure how much I can give away, but you're in a compromising situation. So I saw you shoot all that stuff, and then having seen the film, see the de-aging thing, which is so impressive technologically, but it's also really impressive that you were actually still the person doing all that crazy stuff.
Another quintessential thing about Indy is not only his adventure, but who he goes on the adventure with. From Ke Huy Quan to the late great Sean Connery, my favorite actor of all time. The partnership and camaraderie is so important. So when they meet each other, I know there's a godfather-goddaughter situation. How do they feel about each other? Like, how does she see him and how does he see her? Is he kind of like the, oh, that's just my great, my godfather? Or is,
well, the last time he saw her, she was 12 years old, and she is Indiana Jones' goddaughter. Her father is a former associate of mine, wonderful English actor named Toby Jones, plays her father. Then she shows up and I don't recognize her because she's taller and looks different. And she's showing up at Hunter College. Of course, she's up to no good, but I don't know that at the time.
Well, I understand that your character is perhaps there's an inspiration James Mangold gave to you, and it was Barbara Stanwyck, a character from the 1940s. And that this character, she's a little bit crafty. She's very, very charming, but she's a bit of a catalyst and a little bit of trouble. So how does that dynamic work between the two of these characters? Am I correct in my?
Yeah, totally. She's very manipulative. And that's fun to play, all those layers. But she's definitely playing the little emotional violin when she meets Indy for the first time, showing him photographs, reminding him of the kind of idyllic times they spent when they were younger, and kind of bringing him into this sort of soft focus memory just long enough so that she can spin on him and get what she wants from him, because she's a survivor and she's smart, and she seems to be one of those people who has been kind of trading on luck most of her life. And at the beginning of the film you discover that she's getting a little squeaky. It feels like her luck is running out, so she's had to pull all the stops out. And one of the stops she had to pull out in order to save herself from this terrible situation she's got herself into is to hit up her old godfather and try and manipulate something out of his possession.
So she is very much the catalyst in this situation. I haven't seen the film, obviously. I've seen a trailer where you have a line where you say those days have come and gone in terms of your adventure. It seems like maybe he's been a little bit heavy on the academia, a little light on the adventure in the past 10 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think he has been teaching for however many years. He's a bit dispirited with teaching. His students are not keen on archaeology necessarily. And they're kind of loafing through his classes, and I suppose he is as well. And he is now forced to retire by I suppose, the rules at Hunter College, and they're bringing somebody else in to be the head of the archaeology department. And he has no real future in mind for himself.
Wow. Very unlike we've seen him before. This must add a layer for you that you found delicious to play as an actor.
I thought it would be really interesting to see him at the end of his career, older, not necessarily wiser, but still capable of a last hurrah.
So the adventure finds him, he doesn't find the adventure,
Exactly.
so to speak.
Yeah.
For you as an actor, we're talking about maybe playing different layers than you've played before. As Indy, he finds himself in a new situation, but the quintessential stuff that we love to see from Indy, the facial expressions, the physicality, that type of a thing. Can you talk about revisiting that character and any joy that you found in that?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's great joy in playing the character. I'm familiar with the character. I've enjoyed playing the character. I've had great writing to support the character's behavior and the sense of who he is. But now we're taking him into the twilight of his life and his career. We're seeing him not so strong, not so brave, not so attentive, but about to go on a grand adventure with a very fascinating set of compatriots and adversaries.
Speaking of adventure, your first time playing in an action film, was it like a fish out of water or a fish to water in that sense?
Very much both. Very much a fish in and out of the water all the time. I feel I was so excited to be a fish in that water. And
She killed it. She really went for it.
So much fun, especially because it's not meant to be slick. So allowing the action to be kind of like a bit rough and a little bit like you kind of have to throw yourself into it in a way that you really don't know what's going to happen, obviously within the safety protocols and everything. But there's always an element of you're allowed to mess it up a bit. And that was incredibly fun. The adrenaline of doing it. Like, I mean, it really felt like really very real at times. And I was covered in bruises, which I loved. And I just love being sort of, flung around a set like that. It was just so fun. And you have to stop acting when you're doing stunts. I mean, I know you're supposed to keep acting, but I was genuinely thrilled and terrified at the times that Helena was meant to be thrilled and terrified. But I love it, and I have a whole new appreciation for watching stunts now, and an envy
Well, that leads
I
me
love
into the
it.
James Mangold of it all. First time directing an Indiana Jones movie, obviously, taking over for Steven Spielberg. I understand you two have been friends for a long time. You've had dinners together. It was perhaps your suggestion that maybe he would be a great nominee to come on board, and that he insisted on doing a lot of things practically. He did not want a soundstage. He brought you all over the world. You went to Sicily, you went to so many different places. A joy and a curse in terms of the sets and sort of what's demanded of you in terms of shooting things practically.
No, I mean, we've always shot things practically as much as possible, and we did the same here. Jim is a perfectionist. He's got eyes like a hawk. He works terrifically hard. By himself, he works hard with us. He works hard for us, and he's a terrific director. I had the best time working with him. He's a perfectionist. We're both sort of that ilk, and so it was delightful working with him. We had a lot of fun making the movie, hanging out together, and Jim, and just it was a great time.
He's such a chameleon as a director. There's a lot of directors that you know their stamp, but from Walk the Line to 3:10 to Yuma to then Ford versus Ferrari. So what sort of energy or different vibe does Indiana Jones 5 have because of his contribution?
Jim developed the story with the Butterworth brothers who wrote the script. And I was very surprised by the design of it. It's a very complicated story. It's a very intricate kind of sophisticated construction for what looks like an easier kind of thing. Yeah. But it's really well built, well constructed, and the cinematography is great, the action's great. It's a huge job of work for a director, and Jim just worked tirelessly on it.
Sometimes the blockbusters are the harder ones to make, I think. Phoebe, I want to ask you about the MacGuffin, and the MacGuffin is the Dial of Destiny, and I know you can't tell us anything about the Dial of Destiny, nor do I want it spoiled, but what can you dial audiences into about it? Because I've heard that it is I keep hearing the word clever, and that the villains are clever in this, and it's just a brilliant story, but what can you dial us into?
Well, it's an ode to some of the great myths of our time, but also to mathematics and arithmetic and the potential of human accomplishment, no matter what time in the history of the world they are achieving things. And it is round.
Speaking of round, we obviously know the boulder from Raiders of the Lost Ark. There is a shot in the trailer of you, thank you, I think that's a globe or something that you tip off. What was the moment for you that you said to yourself, whether it was a callback, an action, where you said to yourself, I am really in an Indiana Jones movie?
I really think it's once we got into, again, I'm not even sure if I can say this. We got into a certain set that had a kind of magic to it and that was completely all-encompassing, the set was. So whichever way you looked, you were really in this place. And I walked in there, and it was towards the end of filming, and so much of it, these things were hitting me all the time. But it was really only when I walked into that particular set that I felt the 10-year-old in me just be like, thank you for all the choices you made getting us here. Because this was the moment that everything felt the most magical and pinch me. It was beautiful.
What was the moment for you where you said, I am back in an Indiana Jones movie?
Well, I mean, all it takes is to put on the leather jacket, the hat, hang a whip from my belt, and look in the mirror and, oh, Indiana Jones.
It came easy, I heard. It came easy.
Well, it wasn't hard, and it was fun.
Does
really
he channel
fun.
you at this point, or do you channel him, do you feel like?
I channel the ideas, not the character, the ideas that the character is meant to give expression to. So I'm looking for that cement between the character and the story. And I want to make sure that I make every moment with that character help the story. Because that alloy between character and story, when it is seamless, it provides the greatest amount of support for both the character and the story.
Forgive me if this is a cheesy question, but so many of us look up to our heroes of film and the people that we grow up with, like you said, the 10-year-old in you. You're the only person that knows what it's like to be in the zone and play that character. Can you describe when you're in the pocket and you're having a great day, or you had a day on set that everything was just jiving, sort of how does that feel?
It feels better than a slap in the belly with a wet fish.
Which we did do.
Really? Okay.
Well, I said to her one day, this feels better than a slap in the belly with a wet fish. And she said, what? What are you talking about? I said, you don't know that expression? Slap in the belly with a wet fish?
Didn't know it.
So we happened to be
near a wet fish.
There were wet fish in the vicinity. We were in a Moroccan market, and I got her to slap me in the belly with a wet fish.
I hope it made it in the movie.
But to answer your question, it was a great pleasure to play this character. I'm ever so grateful for the opportunity that I had at the beginning of this and the opportunities that I've had throughout this experience playing this character. I know what it's done, changed my life, had great effect on my life. And I'm very grateful that that audiences have enjoyed it. We've had great filmmakers, Steven Spielberg, Jim Mangold. We've had great actors. It's been an incredible ride. For 40 years we've been doing this. And I wanted the last one to be really good. And I think it is.
Is that why you were emotional? Because I know you've been on stage a couple of times, either teasing a photo or a trailer, and you became a little bit emotional. Is that?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not emotional.
Sentimental?
I'm not sentimental.
Not at all, no.
No, I'm made of wood.
Ever cry, big softy.
Made of wood. Now, of course, it means a lot to me.
I would love for you to tease a little bit of the villains. Mads Mikkelsen, Boyd Holbrook. Every Indiana Jones film, there's no two villains that have been alike. How are these formidable opponents in this story?
Mads he's created a character so sinister because of his gentleness, I think. And I think that was something that was very surprising and incredible to watch sort of bloom on set, especially for someone who's so up for larking around and having a laugh. He's genuinely terrifying and incredibly still. And Boyd, who is sort of on the same team and yet cut from a very different cloth, they're both really frightening in their own ways. And the stakes in the script it's so clever because the stakes are so different for every single person, and yet the overall adventure is keeping everyone at the same pace. But Mads, it's so hard to say anything without giving it away. Can you help me? He's a Nazi.
No, he's...
Don't say anything else. He's extraordinary and really frightening, and I think there's a lot of joy to be taken from an excellent villain played beautifully, excellently, and he is that.
Speaking of frightening, every Indiana Jones film, there's a snake, there's a bug, there's something terrifying. Were you initiated in any way? You don't have to. I don't want to know what it is, but was there an initiation of creepiness?
There's a creepy crawly moment.
Okay. Not the wet fish.
No, that was just fun. There's a creepy crawly moment, yeah, and there's some screaming, there's some running.
Running, jumping, and falling down.
And then you nailed it, right?
I feel it, like, even from reading it and then having watched it, I feel it delivers on every single thing you could possibly hope from an Indiana Jones movie, as well as being its own story. And it doesn't repeat anything it's done before, but it has the same DNA, the same heart, the same feeling. And that is one of the great joys of it, I think, is it's its own thing. But there are moments that your just heart will explode from how beautifully Jim's sort of carved it.
If I had told 10-year-old Phoebe her destiny was to be in a...
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, I think at 10 I probably would have believed it. It's only when life hits you around the head and you go, you reach around like you're a teenager, you're like, that won't happen. But at 10 I'd be like, yeah, sounds about right. I'd be an adventurer. Yeah, in an Indiana Jones movie. And then it gets real and you think that will never happen. And then magically it gets real again.
And if I had told you in 1981, Raiders of the Lost Ark, your destiny was to be playing this character in 2023.
I would have been happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. I heard emotional, the word emotional used, that this is going to kick people in the ass. Quoting you.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that's really fun for an audience is to get a little emotional exercise. Not just the running, jumping, and falling down, but some of the moments of humanity that are actually quite touching.
Thank you both so much. Thank you all for listening. I hope this got you extra excited to watch the movie. Tickets are on sale now at Fandango, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is in theaters June 30th. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks.